guys. Hello, and welcome to episode 104 of the HooperCast. It is I, Connor, coming to you again this week. This is going to be a bit of a prereq. Dustin is going to have a review for you guys of the movie Legend, which is in theaters now. So enjoy that.
Hello, everybody. Dustin here. Just wanted to take a quick minute to review the film Legend. I saw this film at the Savannah Film Festival this year, and it was a pretty good experience watching it in the theater with a large group of people. But I can't say that I would necessarily recommend that you do the same. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this film. So the film tells the story of identical twin gangsters named Reggie and Ronnie Cray. This is based on a true story, and Reggie and Ronnie had a crime empire during the 1960s in London, and so this comes straight from British history. It's always interesting to me when an actor plays dual roles, and here Tom Hardy plays both Reggie and Ronnie, and does a really great job of differentiating between the two and making them two distinct characters. The film is written by Brian Hedgeland and also directed by Brian Hedgeland. You may know him from writing films like L.A. Confidential, for which he won the Oscar, Mystic River, for which he was nominated for an Oscar, and films like Robin Hood, Ridley Scott's newest Robin Hood film, 42, the story of Jackie Robinson, and quite a few other things like the remake of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. So you've probably been familiar with his work before. He's primarily a screenwriter, but he takes on the director's role in this film, and it also stars Christopher Eccleston, Emily Browning, and a few other people that you'll probably recognize. David Thewlis is one of them. So it's a very interesting film, pretty much just for its location, because typically your gangster movies are set like, you know, in New York, or, you know, they're set stateside. So it's interesting, I guess, just to sort of get a glimpse of organized crime in another place. So it's interesting for that. It's also set in the 1960s, so you get, you know, a little bit of, like, you know, for me living in the States, it's cool to see something in London, and then it's also cool to see it back in the 1960s. So anyway, it's a pretty cool setting for the film, and it gives it a little bit of, I don't know, a cool atmosphere, I guess. So you're probably wondering, all right, so you've talked a lot about who's in it and what's it about, but let's talk more about why I shouldn't see it in theaters. So essentially, the way I look at this is, if you've seen Goodfellas, you've kind of seen this film. I mean, down to a tracking shot of our gangster main character taking his girlfriend to a restaurant, and this tracking shot follows them in, and now this tracking shot does last longer than the one in Goodfellas, but it's way less interesting. And it even has narration by, you know, the female character who he's taking on a date. So this voiceover narration really just calls Goodfellas to mind. And when you do all of these things, and you're comparing yourself to a modern classic, it doesn't bode well. So really, it kind of plays out very similarly to Goodfellas, in that you've got a character who enjoys being a gangster, and you kind of watch things not work out for them. And, you know, I know that's probably a spoiler alert, but things don't quite go according to plan here. And so for that reason, it feels unnecessary, because we've already seen Goodfellas, and this doesn't really offer anything new to the gangster genre that, or subgenre or whatever, that Goodfellas didn't. And it doesn't offer anything that we haven't seen before. So for that reason, it doesn't really stand out. The only sort of saving grace of the film is Tom Hardy playing two roles, but even that halfway through loses its, you know, novelty, and you start to, I mean, I guess it just starts to not be as big of a deal. I mean, you know, Armie Hammer did it in Social Network, so, I mean, how hard can it be? Yeah, I mean, Tom Hardy does a great job. There's a few parts. The voice he does for one of the brothers who, I can't remember which one it is, Ronnie or Reggie. But one of the brothers has a voice that's a little similar to Bane, I felt like, in a few parts. He just kind of hit those same, like, just very similar timbre as Bane. So it was just kind of strange to watch for that reason. But apart from that, I mean, look, Tom Hardy's a great actor, and he really brings both of these characters to life. So it's great on a performance level, and especially to watch the two characters interact on the same screen. I think it's kind of cool. But, you know, again, it loses its novelty halfway through just because you're used to it. It's no longer like, oh, cool, that's neat. And Emily Browning does a good job. But essentially, she's just playing Lorraine Bracco's role from Goodfellas. And so there's really nothing that differentiates itself enough to warrant seeing this in theaters. So, okay, if you're not going to see it in theaters, should I rent it? Should I not rent it? Well, that's up to you. If you like gangster movies, if you like crime dramas, if you like biography pictures or biopics or whatever, then, you know, yeah, sure, why not? But don't expect this to turn your head or expect it to I just don't see this as being a film that many people are going to buy on DVD, because it's just not a fun movie to watch. It's interesting, but it isn't fun. And while there are some funny parts, it's not really good for rewatchability. It's not really good for like, hey, I need to show somebody this scene, or I need to show somebody this thing, or people just need to hear this story. So the issue really is just kind of by the book. It's just kind of all the tropes that you would expect of a gangster movie nowadays to hit. It hits every single one of them, and it doesn't hit anything that Goodfellas didn't. It doesn't hit anything that Goodfellas shouldn't. I mean, it's all just by the book. And you know, not every time when a film reminds you of another film is it an automatic like strike against it. But in this case, it really is, because it's sort of a remake of a story that we know so well and was told so well. So it's unnecessary. But, you know, it is historical. It's not like they specifically set out to make Goodfellas. It's just that, you know, some of the story beats happen to line up pretty well with Goodfellas. And I've mentioned that a lot, but that's because it is a problem when your film reminds you too much of another film, because especially if it's a film that you like a lot, because then you're like, well, what's even the point of me watching this movie? So anyway, look, the film is interesting on a performance level because of Tom Hardy. The film is interesting on a technical level because, you know, it does do some cool things technically. And I'm not just talking about, you know, the two brothers speaking to one another, or the two Tom Hardys, but, you know, just its filmmaking style is above average. I mean, it's a good looking movie. It unfolds in an interesting way. I mean, definitely Brian Hedgeland, is that how you say it? Helgeland? I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, he knows how to make a movie and knows how to write a story. So definitely it unfolds in a very interesting way. The problem, though, like I said, is that it's too derivative. It's too by the book. It just follows each thing that you would expect to happen. It's going to happen. And everything that you're like, well, you know, it would be cool if this happened. Well, that doesn't happen because it's not really a cool movie. So all of that aside, there's a few little like shoehorn things in there that I feel like are anachronistic, not in terms of like, oh, hey, they're using a cell phone, but like thoughts or ideas that people may have had in the 60s that I don't think really people had very much, especially in this, gangster world, gangster community, whatever. Anyway, long story short, I think that Legend, while it's not a bad movie, is also not particularly a great movie. So it's one of those that just kind of falls right in the middle. And while you may have a decent time watching it, you're not going to be thinking about it the next day. And certainly in 2 years, you're going to say, how did that end? I don't even remember. Like, you may remember like a scene or something. And here I am, removed about a month from it, and I'm having a hard time remembering the end of the film. So it's not exactly memorable. It's just one of those that is just right there, dead center of the spectrum, and you'll probably forget it very soon. So anyway, not a bad way to spend your time, but it's not going to change your life either. So Legend, falls right in the middle of the ranking spectrum. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's all I've got for Legend. Stay tuned. Next week, I'm going to be doing another film from the Savannah Film Festival, and I'm going to try to get around to seeing a couple of newer releases as well, wider releases that maybe you've seen. So, anyway, that's it. Back to you, Hoop.
I just want to talk about a couple of things. I wanted to talk about a show I just started watching. I know I've mentioned recently shows that I've quit watching because of them being stupid, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and possibly soon The Walking Dead. I wanted to talk about a show that was on the WB in 1999 until the year 2004, and that is a show called Angel. A lot of you guys may or may not know. Maybe nobody knows. Right now, I'm in season 4 of Buffy, or I've been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's a good show. For those who don't know, everyone knows what that show was. It's Sarah Michelle Gellar. She kills vampires. It's Joss Whedon's, I think, first foray into television, and he's went on to do Angel and Firefly and Dollhouse and The Avengers and lots of good things, lots of cool good things. So Buffy's solid. It's just kind of a slog, and it's not quite my demo. It's supernatural, but it's kind of chicky. So throughout the first 3 seasons of that show, there was the recurring character supporting role, I guess, but somewhere between recurring and supporting role of Angel, played by David Boreanaz, who you might know currently from the Fox TV show Bones, which my wife is a large fan of, so maybe I can get her hooked on this show. So they decided, at the end of season 3, spoiler alert, Angel decides to go to Los Angeles without Buffy. And so because the Joss and David Greenwalt, is that his name? Crap. Who's the guy? Sorry, this is important that I get his name right. Probably. Greenwalt. Okay. Yeah. Joss Whedon and David Greenwalt decided they wanted to do a spinoff, and that would be Angel. And so it occurs simultaneously with Buffy. So I just thought, and it's weird because last week Dustin was talking about how he thought that I would like The Flash and Arrow, and that while you didn't have to watch the 2 shows together, you were rewarded for doing so. So I thought, okay, well, I can see why I would want to. I'm kind of a completist like him, so I can see why I'd be drawn to wanting to watch both shows. So. And it's weird because since recording that episode, I had started to watch Angel, and so I'm doing that exact thing. Because at the time that they were airing, I think Buffy would come on the WB, and then what aired after Buffy was Angel. I believe that's the case. If that's not the case, it was like the next day or something. But they would pretty much air and occur back to back. And while they existed independent of each other, there'd be episodes that could tie into episodes from the other show. I don't know if I'm only into the first season of Angel, so I don't know if they become explicit crossovers or just little winks and nods to continuity. But what I do like about Angel is that the tone is darker and it's kind of more of a guy's show. That was sort of the vision, was Buffy's kind of like this, high school as a horror movie, starring this, this idealistic slayer. And the show Angel is a lot more, actiony and kind of male oriented. And so the whole concept is, of course, Angel was this Irish guy in the 18th century who who was bitten by a vampire and turned, and then killed a lot of people. And then at some point, some gypsies cursed him and restored his soul. So, because when you become a vampire, you lose your soul. So they gave him his back, and so he's essentially as he was as a human again, but just immortal and needing to feed. And thereby, with him having a soul, he now has guilt. And so all he feels is guilt over all the pain he's caused. So his whole purpose now is about redemption and helping people, which is, of course, what he's kind of all about when he meets Buffy. So the concept of Angel is that he goes to Los Angeles, and I guess it's supposed to be an in-joke that Los Angeles is a terrible place filled with demons and suffering. I don't know. But it's really cool, and I really enjoy the show so far. I actually like it better than Buffy so far. I think I'm about 7 or 8 episodes in at this point, and I'll give a fuller review whenever I finish this show. But I'm really enjoying it, and it helps me get through Buffy because it makes me not feel like I have to watch Buffy like one episode every day. It's kind of like and the reason I know when to watch what is because I found a blog. You can just Google it. You can just Google episode order Buffy and Angel. But the specific one that I've been following is, oh crap, where is it? What happened? Oh, damn it. Oh, here it is. Sorry. It's just josswhedon.blogspot.com, and it was something called the Watchers Council. I don't know, but it was an episode order. Because Buffy season 4 and Angel season 1 is when it starts. So it basically has which one to watch in what order, and then they put certain episodes in red ink, and those are the ones that sort of cross over or impact the other. So it's kind of cool. So I just go by that. If I have to, I just check it. I'm like, okay, I got to watch an episode of Angel next before I watch this Buffy episode, and so it's kind of neat for me at least. Buffy, I believe, is on Netflix. Angel's on Netflix, but I'm watching Buffy on Amazon Prime, so I can watch it on my phone. So I'll hop over on Amazon Prime, watch a Buffy episode, and then pop over onto Netflix when I get home and watch Angel. And I'm really enjoying Angel. I just like this. I like the subject matter better. I like the way they treat supernatural events with a little bit more stakes and, in my opinion, scarier or more tense than the kind of like, oh, too bad, Mr. Demon, from Buffy, which, is lighter hearted and probably more family friendly, I guess. I don't know. Not family friendly by itself, just more so than Angel. Yeah, so I'm enjoying it so far. So, I'll have thoughts on that later on. I don't want to yammer on too much about it, even though I've been talking about it for about 7 or 8 minutes now. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been watching right now. And I wanted to talk about a couple other things. So by the time you listen to this, Jessica Jones will already have been dropped on Netflix. Some of you might have watched the entire thing by the time you listen to this episode. I'm recording this on the 19th, about 2 hours before it drops. So I myself will have seen an episode or two by the time this airs. But I just wanted to say real quick, I wanted to get Dustin's take on it, but I don't think I'm going to get to before it drops. But I'm really excited for this show, and I hope it kind of meets expectations. I'm really liking Marvel's TV endeavors right now. Not network TV, but Netflix endeavors, I guess I'll say. Even though Dustin and I have our critiques of Daredevil, I still think it's a well-executed show, and it's definitely the right move for them with some of these lesser superheroes that they're just not, really going to do on the big screen for now, at least. So Jessica Jones hopefully will not be a disappointment. I really like Kristen Ritter. And I like Marvel's creative leadership right now. So I think I can't see any reason why this would be anything other than a solid show, if not a slam dunk. I just like things that are compacted into 13 episodes at this point. I just think it's a great medium to tell a story for comic books, but even for books. I mean, I was reading a news article earlier about how the guy who was doing Fargo on FX, which I haven't seen yet, but I hear is good, he is developing the Cat's Cradle, the Kurt Vonnegut book, for a series on FX. And I thought, that's the right way to adapt a story. It's not, just turn the book into a movie because everyone gets pissed off that things are left out. But if you can put it into a miniseries or maybe, a few seasons of television like Justified, you can really flesh out the nuances of a book and really deliver what people want to see, especially a book as old as Cat's Cradle. So not really to plug that, but it's just, I'm just thinking about it, and I'm like, that's the way to go, and finally that's catching on, and that's one of the reasons that TV is so good. A cool way to flesh out a character that's lesser known. You really give us time to learn about her, whereas if you try to make a movie about her, I don't know if I'm with you, to be honest, or you can't really put asses in seats the way you can with a Netflix show, so that's good. So I'll probably have thoughts of Jessica Jones in future episodes of the podcast. I just obviously have none at this time. Speaking of TV shows and Marvel shows for that matter, I saw the season 2 teaser for Agent Carter. Now, I have not decided if I'm going to come back and watch this show. I did like it better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because at least because I like Haley Atwell, she's more charismatic than any of the actors on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and more likable. And I suppose I like the idea of her running around having her own adventures way before any of the events of the current MCU. And there's lots of material to play with Agent Carter because they establish over and over again in these Marvel movies that she was a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D. Her and Howard Stark and I guess Hank Pym as well. But the idea that she had so much to do with the Strategic Scientific Reserve, like the SSR, just basically fighting Hydra post-war America. I just thought, it's a cool concept, and they can really play with it without hurting the continuity really at all. You have this big open gap of, she helped found the S.H.I.E.L.D. How did she do that? Boom, there you go. So I'm probably more apt to just keep watching it because I liked that first season and I like her. And, I've had no reason to stop watching that show yet. It's not bored me so far. So when does that come back to? January 5th. Okay, January 5th. So right after the new year, Agent Carter's back. And it is a 2-hour premiere. And how many episodes are we getting with this? I don't know, but I'm seeing that Kurtwood Smith is in it. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Okay, well, who knows? Anyway, spending too much time on this. So Agent Carter coming back January 5th, 2016 for season 2. So you can probably count on me to be watching, keeping up with that. Yeah. A quick film news item I thought was pretty interesting, or not interesting at all. Maybe just good for him. Who cares, actually? Because we don't follow the Mission Impossible movies. Fuck it. I'm not going to talk about that. Anyway, okay. Well, in theaters now, wanted to mention a couple of things. Of course, there's Legend. Right now, as it stands at the time of this recording, it has a 59 on Rotten Tomatoes. The consensus being that as a film, it's not that great. But that as a showcase for Tom Hardy's talents, it's very good. So perhaps his performance is good, but the movie's structure itself maybe isn't that great. Nevertheless, there's 96% interest in it appears, so maybe it'll turn itself around once the audience. Maybe the audience will have a different opinion. The audience usually does. I mean, if a critic's like, the film's deeply flawed, but if the performance is as good as they're saying it is, a regular audience isn't going to care that about the structure necessarily. They might say, oh, this is perfectly fine, and it might get up, an 89% audience rating. I'll tell you what's going to get a huge audience rating is the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, also out. Currently sitting at 73 on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is going to make lots of money and get lots of exposure and probably have a really high audience score. So fans of that franchise can finally get all concluded. I actually remember finishing the book sitting in this exact same chair that I'm sitting in now, as in fact at the station I work for. I remember this. I was sitting right here when I finished that book, and now I'm looking at the poster for the movie, so it's pretty surreal, I guess. Maybe it's not that surreal. Well, there's a little tidbit for this week on the HooperCast. A little shorter than probably usual, but, it's a prereq. We don't really have much for you right now, to be honest, so I'm not going to stretch the episode out and waste any more of your time, so you should really be thanking me for that. You can catch us on Google if you feel like just saying, HooperCast into the little search bar, and then there we will be. It'll either be our podcast. Make sure you do it all one word. If you do Hooper and then cast, you'll get the cast of some movie from the 70s called Hooper with Burt Reynolds. Happens a lot. So I hear. So anyway, hoopercast.podbean.com or hoopercastpod.podbean.com, HooperCast on iTunes. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to try and be pulling in some familiar voices to the show pretty soon. Perhaps for the holidays. Who knows? Who really does know? Not you, that's for sure. Not until I show you. And I'll show you when I'm ready. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Subscribe, tell your friends. Sorry, I'm so tired right now. Just things are pretty crazy in the land of Hooper currently, but pretty soon. It's bad pod for me to yawn like that. Also bad pod for me not to cut any of this. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you this week. Catch us next week. And maybe I'll have some Jessica Jones stuff. Maybe I won't. I don't even know how many episodes it is, but that's gonna be a fair bit. I'll tell you that. All right. See you guys later. Take care.